Good morning, everyone. Today I want us to look at John chapter 2. In verse 1 it says that on the third day a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Now this wedding would have been a big event with the whole community invited to celebrate with the bride and groom. And it would be the groom and his family's responsibility to cater for them. On the guest list for this wedding was Mary, the mother of Jesus. And verse 3 tells us that Jesus and his disciples were also invited to the banquet. But with so many guests in attendance, and with the wedding celebrations lasting sometimes days, sometimes even a week, they ran out of wine. Now, to run out of wine would have been a serious embarrassment for the newlyweds and their parents, because hospitality in that culture was such a big thing. Everyone in that community would know that running out of wine, it would mean that they'd fallen short in meeting their responsibilities and their obligations. It would show that they had failed to plan, and it would mean that the wedding festivities would have to be cut short. In running out of wine, the family could even be opening themselves up to potential lawsuits from the bride's family. So you can imagine this would not be a great start to married life. Mary saw what was happening. She saw the problem that these people faced. Now, what I want us to see this morning is that seeing problems and being aware of them is not a bad thing. I mean, that's pretty good for us today, because if we're honest, we can see a lot of problems everywhere that we look. It's what we do next with that information, though, that I believe today is so important. Because Mary saw a problem, but she didn't expose what she saw. She didn't shout it out and from the rooftops. She didn't go around pointing out these people's failures. She didn't criticize, she didn't complain. She didn't embarrass her hosts. She didn't turn a blind eye either to their need. She didn't say, "This is not my problem. I'm just going to keep out of it and keep to myself." She didn't condemn them. In fact, she wanted something better for them. She wanted a different outcome from this disaster of running out of wine. She wanted them to be blessed. So she looked for a solution. This week I was reading a John Maxwell book. And in it, he was telling a story about how we all carry two buckets around with us wherever we go. In one bucket, there is water. And in the other bucket, there is petrol. And he says that when we come across a problem, we can either make things worse or we can make them better. And he says, like with a fire, we can pour water on it and put it out, or petrol on a situation and make it worse. Mary saw the problem. She saw the need, and her response was to go to Jesus. It says she went to him and said, "They have no wine. Can you do something about it?" She came to Jesus, and she was coming on the behalf of others, and she was asking him to help. She was saying, "Jesus, there's a problem here. Please, will you get involved? Will you do something? Will you intervene?" In verse 4, Jesus responds to Mary's request, and he talks to her about timing. He says, "The time for me to unveil or reveal my power has not yet come." But Mary seems to carry on regardless. In verse 5, she goes to the people who are serving at the event. She talks to them and she says, "Whatever Jesus tells you to do, make sure you do it." So here we have an event. We have this, all the local community is invited. Mary is there, she sees a need. And now we have servers. These people were there to serve the guests. These people were there to serve the local community. But they'd given all that they had to give. The wine they were to serve had run out. We could say they had run dry. But then after speaking with Jesus, Mary says to them, "Here's the answer to the problem. Here's the solution to the issues that you're facing. Whatever Jesus tells you to do, make sure that you do it." Verse 6 says, Now there were 6 stone water pots standing nearby, and they were meant to be used for Jewish washing rituals. Each one held about 20 gallons of water or more. And Jesus speaks to the servers and he tells them exactly what to do. He says, fill the pots to the brim with water. And once they had done it, he said to them, now draw some of it out. Take it to the master of ceremonies. And they followed his instructions step by step. They did their part and Jesus did his. The water was turned to wine. When the master of ceremonies tasted the water that had become wine, he was impressed. He didn't know where the wine had come from, but the servers knew. The master of ceremonies called the bridegroom over and he said to him, every host serves his best wine first until everyone has had a cup or two. Then he serves the wine of poor quality, but you have saved the best wine until now. Verse 11 says, the miracle in Cana was the first of many miracles that Jesus performed in Galilee. It says it was a sign revealing his glory, and his disciples believed in him. Inviting Jesus to the wedding, it turned out to be one of the best decisions these people ever made, because it was an invitation that opened up a door for God to do something amazing for them. And for us today, as we invite Jesus into our lives and into our situations, he can do the same. He can do amazing things with us, for us, and through us. The servants were told to fill 6 stone jars, fill them with water. It was a strange request. They'd run out of wine, and here Jesus is telling them to get water. But they didn't argue. They didn't come up with their own ideas and their own plan. They followed his. And then they saw the impossible become possible. God revealed his glory and people came to faith. They believed in him. Today, I know many of us have things going on in our lives that seem hopeless, things that are happening where we just don't have answers or solutions. Some things just seem impossible. And if that's us today, we need Jesus to get involved. So today, can I encourage us to invite him in? Let's ask him to help. Let's give him permission to go to work and to move on our behalf. And today, whatever Jesus is telling us to do, let's do it. God bless you this morning. Amen.